Welcome in, everybody. Lazy Booking Podcast on A2D Radio. We got a special guest this week, and we're talking a whole lot of women's wrestling, and we're pumped about it. So stay tuned and join us.
Everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Who's that kid? Nick. He looks like Beaker from Muppets.
The one on FS1, Nick Wright.
Oh,
Yep.
Yeah. I got something
That's
for
amazing.
I
did not even. I love that.
If I get 5 women and they're all in the same room with me, we're going at it at 110%.
Welcome in, everybody. Another episode of Lazy Booking Podcast coming at you here on A2D Radio, and we are very excited for our guests this week. I am Michael Chromiak, joined by one of my co-hosts, also one of the wrestling connoisseurs here on A2D Radio, host of In This Very Ring. This is Andy Ritter, and we are very excited to welcome our guest this week. She's a WWE legend, and honestly, one of the most influential women of her time, Miss Layla L from Diva Search LayCool. So cool to have you. How are you?
Hi, guys. Thank you. I'm well, thank you. Thank you for having me. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great. Andy, how you doing over there?
I'm good. It's going to be a good show.
It's going to be a really exciting show. Before we kick it off, let's show a little love to our sponsor, and that is Dr. Paul Vidal, Specialized Physical Therapy. You can find him at the physical locations of Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey, or you can find him on the web at that website there, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. If you have any kind of aches and pains, any kind of long-lasting injuries that are going on, let the doc and his specialized team, his award-winning team, help you guys out and set you up on a program to get you pointed in the right direction. So this is a really exciting time for us. We're very excited to have you here, Layla. And what's interesting is I started this podcast in 2016, and I just want to get this out of the way. And this is not a blowing smoke thing, but I have to say this is one of my most exciting interviews because I always said before I even started doing interviews, if I went that way, there were specifically 3 men and 3 women that I wanted to interview, and you were on my list of women that I would like to interview.
Wow. Well, thank you. I'm very flattered. Thank you.
Yeah, so we're very excited to have you on here. And obviously, as we all do, we are on Agree to Disagree Radio. We want to start us off with a topic of conversation. So we're going to ask our guest this or read this statement and see if our guest agrees or disagrees. So Layla, you come from a generation that obviously I think was so influential in really changing the perception of the female wrestler, right? And started, I think, with Trish and Lita just before you guys. And then, seeing where your generation kind of took things with, yourself, Michelle McCool, Natalia, Beth Phoenix, so many of you guys. So we wanted to ask, looking company to company at this point, I'm not sure how much you watch the current product, but do you believe that this current crop of talent across the professional wrestling board is, or that women's wrestling, they have brought women's wrestling to an all-time peak at this point?
I would have to disagree.
Okay.
Hear me
Yeah,
out.
sure.
Okay, hear me out. The reason I would say that, I would say it's if we were given back then, if you look at the female rocker, if you look at Mickie James, you look at Melina, you want to look at Michelle McCool, Beth Phoenix, Natalia, what other wrestlers, even Jillian Hall. Like, if you look back at the generation of what we were at that time, divas, we were held back. Do you know what I mean? You're telling me that crop of women, if we would have given what the women wrestlers are, which is amazing, and I'm so happy for them. But if we were given that opportunity with that time, that training, able to be creative, elaborate, tell our stories, and get the fans involved, that's the only reason I disagree. Now, that's not me saying that the women's talent, the women right now has not reached all-time peak. I'm not saying that. I am saying they're amazing, they're phenomenal, they're talented. But you can't compare. It's like apples and oranges. You really can't compare them because it's just not a fair statement to make. So that's the only reason I say that. So that's why I'm kind of like, it would be unfair to say that, to be honest with you. But the women that are in wrestling right now are phenomenal. I'm happy that they're able to they're able to go as far as they want to go with their careers. It's amazing to watch. And you just have to be happy for them and proud for them, but you can't diminish what the divas had and what we created, with what we were allowed to create.
Yeah, no, I love that answer, and
Best answer. Like when you sent me the question earlier, Croman, I don't mean to cut you off, but when you sent it to me earlier, that my first reaction was we can't compare the two.
Yeah.
And she literally said, like, I had a whole thing ready, and she said everything.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Don't be. I'm so glad you said it all.
no, and it's interesting because I would agree with you as well and disagree to the poll. It was an interesting question, but I think I wanted to see, when I was trying to come up with a topic that I wanted to kind of lead us into, kind of how you guys were trailblazers and paved the way. I did want to recognize, obviously, that the level of talent is amazing now, but I think it is because it comes off of the back of your generation and prior to you. When you look at the Chinas and you look at, like I said, Trish Stratus and Lita, who were a little bit earlier than you guys, and I do think that it is almost a wonder of what would happen if you guys were a generation ahead. And we need people to be trailblazers, and you guys did such an amazing job of that, you ladies. So I was curious how you were going to answer this, and I'm glad that you did answer it that way, because I think I would agree with everything that you said as well.
I just feel that when I was in WWE, I'll just speak for myself. When I was there, and I used to watch everybody come in and from the developmental, they come in. It was, are they going to sink or are they going to swim? That was it. There was no like pampering. There was no like, and when I say pampering, I'm just trying to like, how can I explain? There was no training. There was no. Today, I feel if you are in NXT and you come up to the main roster and you don't succeed, they give you everything to succeed. To be honest with you, they really do. I think most of the talent, they absolutely create them and then bring them up to the main roster. You should fly, because I didn't see that when I was in WWE.
Yeah, there's a lot of avenues now for success as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I agree with you. And I think they do this in all of sports now too, right? It's really hard to compare generations. And obviously you guys are a lot closer in age than when we talk. But it's a big debate that's going on in professional sports just in general. Like, how do you compare LeBron James to Michael Jordan when it's two different generations? And some guys, had more advantages to things. And social media obviously boosts different things as well. I mean, I think that's helped women's sports in general, is having the access to the social media at this point. But
Well, you think about it too, right? Like you mentioned trailblazers and how Layla and that generation of women were trailblazers for what we have now. A lot of the women that are wrestling now have looked to that generation and said, they're why I got into professional wrestling. It's not the Mae Youngs, the Fabulous Moolahs, the Sherry Martells, the Debras, the Chinas, and it's really not even the Trish and Litas anymore. It's the Layla, the Michelle, the Natalia, the Beths. That's the inspiration for what we currently have, and that's why you can't compare. You can't compare what inspired one to become what we have now.
agreed.
I agree 100%. I think the only person that maybe we could say that about would be China, just because she was on an elite, like on her own standing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think I think she's the only like female wrestler that you could really say that from like generations, away. But
Yeah, she was way ahead of her time.
absolutely.
And listen, you got into wrestling in a very unconventional way, right? So they have the Diva Search. So can you talk about that time and what made you enter the Diva Search and what that experience was like for you?
Yeah, I was dancing for the Miami Heat, and I was someone reached out to me from casting at WWE, and they said wrestling, and it was a joke. Everyone was laughing at me. Everyone was like, "There's no way we do. It's crazy." So, but I just woke up one day and I said, "I'm gonna do it." So when it was, about our looks and also like personality and just like, so there wasn't any wrestling skills at all, so it's not like I got my moment because of my wrestling skills, which I knew. And I totally like said, I'm just going to go for this audition and see what happens. And during the actual Diva Search was very like scary. My first time backstage, I was freaked out. I was really, really freaked out. We had certain rules that that they told us and they advised us. It was up to us whether we wanted to follow those rules or not. And the fans, when we first went out there, they booed us. That was my first reaction to WWE. Miz went out there, and our first reaction was they booed him. I was like, I was speechless because I was like, how am I eat? Like I've never experienced booing before in my life. I've always had like clapping applause after each performance. So I was like, what's this? So it was definitely challenging. It was definitely eye-opening experience and a moment in my life that I will treasure for always because it gave me the opportunity to live a life that I could only have dreamed of and seen things that I could only have dreamed of. And I knew had to put my head down once I got the contract, and I was gonna learn. I was gonna learn because I wasn't offered training when you won the Diva Search because you're already on TV and they felt like you already had a following. They don't take you back to developmental. You stay on the road. You have to be on the road. So I trained on the road. So that's where I got my experience. So I got to learn everything basically out there in front of like millions of people, which I'm gonna tell you is like the most terrifying thing because you don't want to you want to do well, but you're not. It's just I didn't have the skills. You know what I mean? When I first started, so you're like if you're like you feel like you're letting so many people down. You're letting yourself down. You're letting the people who have trained and worked so hard to be able to be called wrestlers, and then you got someone out like me going out there going, so there was so many like there was so many things that I had to overcome. There was fear of going out there and just looking like a fool until I got it right. But I was able to dance, so that saved me. So I could be an extreme expose and do that and train while I was on the road. So that was a blessing for me. That was my first like experience with the Diva Search and WWE.
Yeah, and you did. You just a quick follow up before we get into where I know Andy's going to take us next. So you were able to use that background, right? And then you were a part of the ECW, WWE's version of ECW, and then at that same time too, you also kind of transitioned a bit into doing some of the managerial valet work as well.
Yes.
So you really did kind of cover the whole cycle of different positions on screen. And what was that period like? Did you feel a little bit more comfortable now being able to, I guess, get a little tenure with the company by utilizing the skills you've been using and also to learn on the job as well, or was it still very, very stressful?
Um, I think anyone you ask who worked for WWE, maybe for that period of time, you never feel like safe or comfortable. You never know what's gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like you 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 just never know. So no, I never really felt like safe or like confident, but I was respectful and I was willing to learn and I was willing to do whatever I had to do. And, so I think that made it easier for people to trust me. And that's why I think I was able to be a valet, be able to, be the dancer for a minute until I got better and understood the wrestling business and stuff like that. But I don't think I've ever felt safe there. Even when I was in LayCool, it was great. It was awesome. But it's just you never really feel 100% secure.
I think it's great that you brought up LayCool because we're gonna skip right to the part where I think WWE straps a rocket ship on your back and sends you to the moon because late 2009 you become part of easily one of the most memorable women's tag teams of all time with Michelle McCool, WWE Hall of Famer Michelle McCool. Walk us through how does it get pitched to you that you're going to be paired up with Michelle, and going right into that, what I think is probably an iconic program with Mickie James, which is really what put you guys on the map and said, hey, everybody needs to watch them now.
Absolutely. So first of all, with LayCool, it was never pitched. It was
Really?
never supposed to be me. It was never an idea. It was Michelle and I. Stephanie wanted to do a mean girl angle, and it was supposed to be, I think, Michelle McCool and Alicia Fox. I was just the filler. I got drafted back to Smackdown, so I was the filler. So Mickie James, and her and Michelle McCool wouldn't touch until pay-per-views or when they really needed. So I was just the filler. But every time we went out there, it just became the chemistry between us. And you're right, the Mickie James story angle was one that for the first time ever that I felt a reaction from the crowd, not just an honest, genuine reaction. Michelle and I were literally like getting women threatening us ringside. Like they took that storyline so seriously. They really believed that we were those mean girls, that we were saying that about Mickie. So it was a great moment in women's history, especially from the Diva era, because it solidified, oh, wait. The fans do want to see this, or the fans are invested in this. So to me, it was just, LayCool just happened organically. It wasn't, and we never even discussed it. Just one day, it was just like, we need a name. And that was like, and then after that, it just kept happening, just kept working.
Yeah, and I want to follow up with that, because what a lot of people don't remember, and some do, some don't, is you guys are also managed by Vicky Guerrero for a long while too. So you guys kind of become this trio of
Great group.
yeah, like just pure chaos in the best ways possible. And I think it was around that time where you guys were getting the most television time of the women because of just how organically you guys got over. What was it like with having Vicky Guerrero being thrown into that fold, and then kind of going on even to WrestleMania and so on and so forth?
For one, to work with Vicky as well was just like it was amazing. I'll be honest with you, half the time that we were walking out with Vicky, couldn't hear a thing. Couldn't hear a thing over the booth. Like, I'm being honest with you, there were moments like, what is she saying? What, like, because I'm waiting for moments. We have cues. I couldn't hear anything. I know Michelle could. I'm looking at her and I'm like, what? We couldn't even hear each other. Like, what is she saying? What is she saying? It was amazing to be in that crowd and just hear that just the electric. It was like electric. It just felt like so much energy was just drawn, and to us, and it was like, I still remember it now. It was moments that I know all three of us ladies will treasure. It was great times, and especially that we were three women. We weren't men. We were three women out there standing up there and getting reactions from the fans, and not just, reactions.
Yeah, it was nuclear.
Yeah, absolutely. That we even didn't we? If I remember clearly, that Kelly defended the World Heavyweight Championship with Edge. If I remember, we were in that match, right? It was
I think so, yeah.
with Dolph Ziggler, and Vicky, I remember that. That's how powerful it felt out there. That was the first time that a female was defending, I think, the World Heavyweight, Kelly. Like, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, it is crazy the history that you guys made as well, right? Like, you're so far ahead of your time. Again, when you look at the women's tag team title division now, right? But what was so much fun about you guys, and this is like twofold. Obviously, we had 2 Divas titles, we had 2 women's titles, and at one point you guys split the title almost like charm bracelets, which was an amazing idea. I want to know whose idea that was. And then my other follow up is, you are the first, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you are the first British women's champion in WWE history, which we've seen other people have at some point or another, especially from when you look at opening not just doors for British wrestlers, but Becky Lynch and Lyra Valkyria, there's so many women who are international stars at this point with the WWE that it does feel like you are one of the people, or if not the person, who kind of spearheaded that, right? So,
Yes.
what is that honor like for you? And I have to know, whose idea was it to split the titles like charm bracelets?
Okay, so the first question, the answer to the first question was, it was Batista, Dave Batista's idea. He literally was walking out of a room and saying, "Hey, I just told Vince, you guys, because we had those little necklaces, remember? Those little
Yeah.
necklaces, and he's like, you guys should do that with a title." That was it. It was his idea.
Wow.
It was his idea completely, 100%. And
That's
then,
amazing.
yeah, it was amazing. It was. I'm so happy that he thought of that. That because I think that is just, I would like everyone remembers that. If you think of LayCool, you remember the titles, the split into the titles,
Yep.
you know.
Mhm.
So, and then
Oh, okay.
I would say like it didn't even actually hit me that I was the first British WWE women wrestler or diva. It didn't even hit me. I totally didn't even think about it. And then one day someone brought it to my attention. I was like, oh my God. And the only reason it didn't hit me was because I think Vince, when I first joined the Diva Search, he thought I was Latin because I auditioned from Miami. Or
Oh,
in Miami. So he did, you know what I mean? So it never really like caught on. I was just, and then I'm also the first Arab woman, which I didn't know either. I just found that
wow.
out the other day. I had no clue. So I'm also I'm the first British woman and the first Arab woman to be a part of WWE. Yeah.
That is amazing.
Wild.
No clue. I had no clue.
And look how diverse that the roster is now, too. It's crazy.
Absolutely. It's amazing. Very amazing. Because at the time when I was there, I think when I joined the Diva Search, I also had like that curly hair. And everyone was like, pulled me aside. They're like, you're not going to win. Just so you know. See the blonde girl over there? She's going to win. And I was
Wow.
like, okay, it's fine. Let's have fun. Why not? Let's have fun.
Wow.
So,
Yeah. Andy?
So I also wanted to point out you were also the first Diva Search winner to have won a championship too. So you just stacked on firsts throughout your entire career.
I
And
think Eve wasn't she? I think Eve. I'm not too sure. I want to say Eve was the first Diva Search winner. I think. I'm not too sure. I think I was the first one to win the women's title, the women's championship, the WWE Women's Championship. I
I
think.
have to look that up. I just have
Yeah.
you were
Like
the
I
first
said,
one to win the championship. But I want to go into kind of more towards the back half of your career, right?
Yes.
And more specifically, right, like after you go away, you have your knee injury, and you go away, you come back in Extreme Rules of like 2012, and you start feuding with Beth Phoenix. What was that like, kind of being more on your own, and after been with LayCool for so long?
It was very daunting. It was very like scary, and
Yeah.
I enjoyed it for what it was. I just feel like I should have had a better character. I should have done a lot more better character work and came back in a better way instead of just winning the title and that was it. Like there's so many things I look back at, but what I will say is that I prefer being. I enjoyed working with Michelle. I like working off somebody. I do very well like that. I really do. I think I produce better work when I have somebody that I can work off and stuff like that. But then again, it was different. It was definitely different. I missed my partner. And then I just got used to it, kind of thing. I look back, I just regret that I didn't do a better character and didn't evolve in a better way that I think that I could have.
Okay.
Wow. A couple more things. I think it's important to ask this question, and I know I've had a few people when people found out you were going to be on bring this up, that they want to hear from you. You were part of the first women's tables match with Natalia. Again, it's like knocking down doors left and right. What was that? What is that like to look back at now? I mean, Natalia is amazing. She's still such a massive part of not just the company, but the industry in general. And you see her now where she's going, not just within WWE, she's going to NWA and she's going to TNA Impact, and working with so many of this young talent to give them a boost and give them, an experience working with her. What was that like for you to be a part of such a huge moment, as well as, give me your thoughts on Natalia, just because she's so tremendous.
Well, Natalia is amazing. Like, look at her career. Her career speaks for herself. Her longevity speaks for herself. All you can say is she evolves. She evolves. She works well with people, and I don't think there are many people that will have one bad word to say about Natalia, work wise or backstage. So I think everything that she's stayed solid and consistent her entire career, and all I can say is hands off to her. Like, I'm, congratulations, because she's still up there, she's still doing good, and I think that she's still gonna have a huge career after she steps out of the ring, but involved in wrestling. And she teaches women. She's always there, she's always wanting to help and help the new talent evolve. I will say that I've always witnessed her do that. She works with everybody, and she does an amazing job. So hats off to her.
Wow. Yeah. It seems like she's just such a respected person in the business.
Yeah, she is. She is for sure. And being a part of the tables match, like, I know, like, when I haven't forgotten it. It's just when you remind me, I'm like, oh my God, we had a tables match when the Divas were only allowed 2 minutes in the ring.
Yeah.
So um I kind of still remember that moment, because I remember Jamie Noble was our agent, our producer, and so was Fit Finley as well. And like, I just remember, like, it felt very surreal when we were out there. It just flowed. It didn't seem like, I know that all of us were nervous, but we were collectively together. We were going to put on a good match. Like, we were given an opportunity, and we went out there knowing we're going to go out there and we're going to prove to them that they need to watch the women. Like, we can do this. So that was great. I was more, I say, terrified, because you got to remember, I'm the underdog in that. When you
Mm-hmm.
look at the four, I'm the underdog. Like, I'm the girl that came from the Diva Search, hasn't trained. Like, they, you know what I mean? They even Michelle McCool, she went down to development. They've trained, they've worked their way up to this. So they are wrestlers. You've got Natalia, Beth Phoenix, Michelle McCool, and then you got Layla. Like, I was terrified. So I knew I knew in the back of my head that I was like, don't mess this up. Don't
Yeah.
be the one to mess this up. And because they were so great, so giving, and they worked with me too, I was able to lift myself up too. So, when I look back at it, I kind of get teary eyed. And the actual end of the match, that wasn't supposed to be the end.
Wow.
Michelle and I were supposed to break the tables,
Mm-hmm.
right? But people didn't break. So Natalia, there you go. She did a splash onto us.
Wow.
Broke the
Yeah.
table.
It's a great match, and if anybody hasn't had a chance, go back and check it out. I have one last question, because we are running low on time, and we're so grateful for the time that you gave us. And this is a question that I like to ask any of our guests who have participated, because WrestleMania is just such a special event. And I believe you participate. I know of at least 226 and 30. What was your experience like? Even if you just want to talk about your first WrestleMania experience, and that moment of coming out and kind of seeing, anywhere between 60,000 to 100,000 fans, and just feeling that electricity. What was your experience like for your first WrestleMania, which I believe was 26?
Yeah, might be. I think one was with Extreme Expose, May Young and Mula. I think we did a pre-tape. That was fun. But coming out the first time, it felt like white noise. I don't know if that makes any sense to you. It just felt like white noise, because it was so loud, but it was just like, you're just looking around at everybody, and you're like, but it's a moment that I will never forget. It's a moment that I will always treasure, and always feel privileged that I was even able to do that. And when you have everybody in the same arena, all focused on just one thing, they just want to have a good time. They just want to go out there and love wrestling. They're here because they love a wrestling. It's just, you can't even explain it. It's just, I hope everybody gets to attain that once. or feel
Wow.
that electricity. Just feel it just once in their lifetime.
Wow. Very, very special. And we'd love to hear about those kinds of stories. But Layla, we want to thank you for your time today.
Oh,
Such great insight into your career and obviously the women's wrestling, a walk through the different generations and the contributions to get us to where we needed to be today. So thank you so much for your time. Do you have anything coming up? I think you have an appearance coming up. Do you have anything you want to put out here, promote any projects or anything?
yeah, I have some appearances coming up. If you can find me on social media, on X, it's MSLAYEL, and then on Instagram, it's LAYEL, Layla. I do have appearances. I'm going to be doing the big event. WrestleCon in Jersey. I am also working on a podcast. It's called Lay Talk. It's I can't keep saying it's coming out, but it's been put on hold until it is coming out. It's totally about the diva era. Everything. Well, I want to celebrate these women. I want to show our careers. I also want to tell the fans backstage, like what happened backstage. Also, the stuff that happened that why certain women didn't succeed, why women didn't succeed, and we're going to get to hear their stories. I'm going to have the actual divas on the show, so it's not just me talking. We're going to actually go in depth and celebrate the diva era and the diva search, and have a good time about it too. Have some laughs about it too. We have to take it so serious. So it's called Lay Talk Podcast. Sorry, at Lay Talk Podcast. My apologies. It's on Twitter and on Instagram already, and it should be up soon.
Amazing. We
That's
can't
gonna be
wait.
so good.
Yeah, everybody check that out. And again, thank you so much, Layla, for your time today. I hope you have a great rest of your week and a happy 4th coming up. And we'll talk to you possibly soon in the future.
You too, guys. Thank you so
Thank
much. Have
you.
fun. Take care, everybody.
You
Bye.
too. Bye-bye.
That was cool.
Fantastic time. Yeah, fantastic time there with, again, it's crazy when you think about, and this is why she was somebody that I'm telling you, back when I had a list, I have tried to contact her back when I first started doing these.
Mhm. I remember talking about her.
Yeah, I brought her name up before. And it really is one of those things. And it's so funny, Andy, because we're sitting and we're talking to her. And let me just throw this little bad boy on. It's our segment we're in now. We're talking to her, right? And you think about, somebody that started behind the 8 ball
Mm-hmm.
and really did come in. And you even heard her discuss, Andy, she has a curly hair and right. And listen, it's life, right? It's not fair, but there are certain physical attributes and minority attributes of things that
When you think back
in a different time, it was different.
Right, you go back to that time, they were still in that transition from like the attitude era style diva and even that ruthless aggression style diva. There was still that transition, and we always talk about the mold, right? Whether it's man or woman. And the mold was changing at that time. So no one really knew what the mold looked like. No one, because there wasn't going to be one definitive look. And I didn't realize it till we actually sat down and started talking, and I really kind of got into some of this because I've known about this interview for all of 4 hours today. So while I was getting ready for it, I was like, damn, she's done this, and just like what kind of I always knew she was influential, and I always knew she held a spot in history, but you don't really realize sometimes how much of a spot of history somebody holds until you start talking. Like, we've done these a bunch of times as far as these interviews. It still gives me butterflies when I talk to some of these people, because you're truly talking to somebody who paved the way for the people you're watching now, somebody who created history, like the stuff that they didn't even know it at the time that they were doing it. The stuff
Right.
that they were doing became such an ingrained part of the thing that we love the most. One of the things that we love the most in this world. And like, it's so incredible to be able to sit and talk to these people and hear how truly they were like, it was just another Monday night for us, and we were doing da 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 da, and it was cool, and it was this and da da da, and we're sitting here going, that's we have that because of this.
Yeah.
It's wild to me. And then you look at someone like Layla, who I think in her own right should, and I'll say it here, and I said it back in April, right? I think in her own right is a Hall of Fame,
Mm-hmm.
going to be in the Hall of Fame very, very soon. And this is somebody who truly just did it all. And really, LayCool, so she jumps into the Diva Search in 2006, right? LayCool happens in 09 to 2011. That was only 2 years that they did that.
Yeah.
And then she retires in 15. So in that 9-year run, she just breaks barrier after barrier, knocks down obstacle after obstacle. Incredible.
Yeah, I think too. So, like, you're right in everything that you said, and I think for anybody who, okay, I think for anybody that ends up watching this, and listens in, putts, and I think it's weird because I agree with you. This is a woman that should be in the Hall of Fame, and honestly, the moment I heard that Michelle McCool was going in the Hall of Fame, and deservingly, by the way, I'm not saying
Correct.
not. My immediate thought was Layla should be in with her, whether they go in as LayCool or they go in separately. And part of that, and this is why back in the day I wanted to have her on here. Now, there are certain aspects of her career, no, I did not realize at the time, but I always felt like she was somebody who came from, it was a time where women were getting 2 minutes and this was your pee break match, right? This was the bathroom break match or the popcorn match, as they would call it. And it felt like you could watch her over the years get better and better. And you could see her work very, very hard. And she did start as a young woman who had the curly hair. And when you were in an industry full of blonde women who had enhancements, and again, I'm not knocking it,
right?
There was a certain stereotype in the world, not just in professional wrestling at that time. And really from the get-go, when she won the Diva Search and as she went along, right, she evolved so much. And then to anyone who watched this, and when we went through, and really that's just the highlights. I would love to have talked to her about working with William Regal when she was his valet a little bit further. Dive into people like her relationship with Paul Heyman for when she worked in ECW and he was a part of that. I would love to have gotten further into Mickie James. We did get into Natalya, which I thought was important, and like people like Beth Phoenix and some of the other really influential people. We didn't get a chance to do that, and that's okay, because I think what we got was more than what we wanted to discuss. But man, like, you look at her credentials, Andy, and it is one thing after the other.
I was sitting here and like reading them. 2012, she was the number 6 on the PWI Top 50 females. One-time Divas champion. She was a final WWE Women's champion.
Mm-hmm.
She was a 2006
of that iteration. Yep.
Yeah, of that iteration. Yeah, she was a 2006 Diva Search winner. She was a Slammy Award winner. And what nobody mentioned, and we didn't mention it either, she holds an NBA championship ring.
Oh, I forgot about it. I did forget about that. She was part of that 06 cheerleading team when Shaq and Dwayne Wade won. Yeah.
So she's just accomplishment after accomplishment. First British-born women's wrestler, women's champion. I'm sorry. For what did she say? First Arab,
First Arab. Yep.
And then she talked about. I mean, I could go on and on for some of the stuff she said.
Well, so that's the thing too, right, Andy? Because I feel like because of where she started, and I do think being in the team with LayCool, and then her retirement was so quiet. It was very like, it was like almost like a very quiet fade out where she didn't need to let everybody, and that's fine. I think because of that, she gets a little bit lost in the shuffle, which is a shame because, again, everybody we talk about, oh, Charlotte and Sasha were in the first Hell in a Cell match. Well, guess what? Before that, you had TLC matches, you had tables matches. Before they were breaking barriers down, these women were breaking barriers down and being given that time outside of those 2 minutes. She was the first British woman, really, and look at how that paved doors for people like even a Tony Storm to come over here and become an NXT UK champion. And obviously, you look at like Lyra Valkyria and some of the other names we brought up, Becky Lynch, and some of these other international female wrestlers who were given these. What's her name now? Blake Monroe.
Yeah.
Mariah May. This is all off the back of Layla. That again, you don't think about it until you talk about it. Paige. How did I forget her?
I knew we were getting somebody, and I'm sitting here racking my brain going,
nope, I knew there was another female British wrestler I couldn't think of too, or
yeah,
UK wrestler.
I'm sitting here going,
and I knew it was going to be a big name, and I was going to look like a moron. But you're right.
Well, you don't need help there.
Yeah, you're right. Not much. But anyway, tremendous interview. I think we should. I'm excited for the podcast, Lay Talk podcast.
So
and I have to say, I am very excited to see what kind of guests that she has on, and also I almost feel like we should now start like now that we listed it out, we should be starting the Layla for Hall of Fame movement at this point.
Amen.
But anyway, very cool interview. Great timing, particularly with Evolution coming up in the next couple of weeks. Felt like it was important to have, a
trailblazer.
A trailblazer. Yeah, she's a trailblazer. Yeah, and we've had them before, right? We had Candice. Candice Michelle's another one who came in, and we had the privilege of interviewing her, and she came in unorthodox circumstances too, and ended up getting better and better. She learned a lot of the same way. So, and she's of the same era. So very cool talking to her. But yeah, so we're in our hot tag and other news and notes at this point.
Do you want to say it or can I?
Go ahead.
Pipe bomb!
Oh my goodness. Yeah, so almost 14 years to the day.
Which I didn't realize till you told me.
And not only that, and they did mention this on the broadcast, so I'm not taking credit for this, but wow, mind-blowing. When the first pipe bomb happened, John Cena faced R-Truth in that match.
Really?
Yes. R-Truth was his opponent in that first match.
No one ever talks about that.
It's crazy, right? And what's wild is that was when R-Truth was doing his heel gimmick. And we were starting what?
That's wild. That's insane.
That was when we were getting to I guess the Rock comeback was coming pretty soon and all that.
Yeah,
it is. Was it that long ago? No.
Yeah, it would have been.
Because then we had the Rock star coming back after that, and that's when they set up the Survivor Series with Rock and Cena.
Yeah, the awesome truth bit. Yeah.
Yep. So I want to. You guys haven't been on. I thought you were. So this is great because then I can get your side of this. We watched this promo. I mean, I know, Andy, that we are not fans of how we got to this point with John Cena.
Very true.
In terms of the finish at WrestleMania 41. However, this heel run has been awesome.
So it's had its ups and its downs. Let's be very clear there, right? Some stuff I wish had panned out a little longer, like especially the bit with Randy. I wish that had gone a little bit longer. It still could, but I don't know because they already said one last time. Those two would lock horns one last time. I don't think they're going to circle back. I truly think that he wrestles.
Listen, we have King of the Ring, and we were also told that Rock and Cena was once in a lifetime twice.
Fair point. I'll shut up now. But I wish that had gone on a little longer. I wish, especially towards later in the run as well. I wish that this R-Truth stuff wasn't really being overshadowed by the Punk stuff. I wish they were kind of operating separately, but and I can nitpick this till I'm blue in the face. I was kind of on Cena post WrestleMania. I was like, all right, not a lot of this is making sense anymore. We didn't get the payoff with The Rock. Move on to something else, right? Give me to the next bit. Once Punk walked out a few weeks ago and stared him in the face and said, well, isn't this ironic? I knew we were in for a treat. Nobody, there's not a single human being alive on this earth today that can tell me they saw John Cena dropping that pipe bomb promo. What was it, last Friday on SmackDown? Yeah.
This past Friday, yep.
This past Friday. There ain't a single human being alive that said they could have done that. And when I tell you my man put on a master class on how to cook somebody, he truly went out there. And while at first I was like, man, I don't like it because it's too similar to the pipe bomb, right? There were too many similarities for me. The more I stewed on it over the weekend and even until last night, and my buddy Jax was over here last night watching Raw, and he goes, this was everything John wanted to say 14 years ago, but never got the opportunity to, was never allowed to. And as soon as that was said, it was like a light bulb clicked in my head. And I was like, oh my God, you're right. It is. This is just truly the follow-up. I think stylistically, it was beautiful to have Punk in the ring while doing it. And if you watch Punk, he cracks a smile a few times in there, and then he realizes, oh God, the camera's on me, right? Like, he has that moment of, this is great, but it was fantastic. And it makes you just look towards Saturday afternoon, which don't get me started, but it makes you look towards Saturday afternoon and go, fight. I don't care about the rest of it. Fight.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens with that, right? So, I mean, that's a whole other conversation that you can read about on the internet in terms of airspace and if they're even going to be able to have a show over there.
I don't think
digress.
so, but that's, again,
but I digress. We'll move on as if this is happening. Yes, so you came around on it, so I'm just going to reply to your initial reaction first.
Yeah, please.
Which I feel I've had a different, and I stand by it. My reaction was different because when this happened, you didn't expect it, right? So we said the correlation of how the long-term storytelling of getting from that point to an improbable point, because 14 years later to get to this moment, we needed CM Punk to come back to WWE, which seemed impossible, and we needed John Cena to turn heel, which seemed impossible. And in John Cena's heel turn, obviously, within that 14 years, R-Truth got fired. We needed the fans to will his rehiring for him to be able to come back. And then to what you said, Andy, it ended up being very similar, and in my opinion, though, in all the right ways, right? The table spot, putting him through a table, it being against R-Truth again, it being on prime time, and then John sits up on the rope, which was different because of the ramp. And when he starts talking, and you hear that first line, it is that like, this sounds familiar. But it didn't initially hit and say, holy shit, he's quoting the opening of the pipe bomb. That he basically goes up till the first couple lines until he says, I'm your only friend, as opposed to if you go back to Punk's, he says, I like you more than other people in the locker room. John says, I'm the only one in the locker room who likes you.
Punk says, I don't hate you, John. I don't even dislike you. I do like you. I like you hell of a lot more than I like most people in the back.
Right. And now Cena says the opposite. I'm the only one in the back that considers you a friend and likes you. It just felt so right in all the right places. And then obviously, as it goes along, he still has a couple of callbacks, but it becomes, and I think that is such a great way that Jax put it, in that this was, if Cena had a rebuttal years ago, what would it look like? And I will tell you, 14 years ago, this, and I think Hogan's turn with the NWO might be considered the two most infamous promos, maybe in the modern era of professional wrestling. And what I will say is, if my comparison for this is, if the original pipe bomb is Top Gun, this is Top Gun Maverick, to where you can piece them together, but they can be completely held in their own regard as if they're their own movie. You can look at it on both ways, and they're both master classes either way that you look at them. So
Agreed.
this to me is Top Gun and Top Gun Maverick. They stand on their own, but they're a beautiful thing put together with that kind of a long distance in between to allow all that history and fate that needed to happen to get there. So
I'm
Yeah.
going to turn my virtual background off because it's going to make more sense. I got another monitor over here,
Yeah.
and I have some of John's promo, some of Punk's promo, and I'm literally looking at both of it. John goes, Punk, as you lay there and you're most uncomfortable, someone's afraid of what I'm going to say. I hope you can listen. I hope you can digest, because before I leave here in 6 months with that WWE Championship, I got to get a whole lot of stuff off my chest. Punk goes, John Cena, while you lay there hopefully as uncomfortable as you possibly can be, I want you to listen to me. I want you to digest this, because before I leave in 3 weeks with your WWE Championship, I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest.
Mm-hmm.
Genius! The
Mhm.
subtle changes between the two. John going, someone's afraid of what I'm going to say, where Punk's like, haha, no, we're talking. And
Mhm.
then John going, I hope you can listen. I hope you can digest. Just, it's so stylistically good. And as you read it and I say it, it's like John literally sat there, and because we know John is really good at, that rap career, he has that rap background and everything. He wrote a diss track using the pipe bomb as his inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And it reads that way. It sounds that way when you hear it. Incredible.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then even the other, like, acknowledging the difference in stature, right? In that, Punk having the mic turned off, and John says the difference between me and you is I don't need to worry about somebody turning my mic off.
Mm-hmm.
Like the entitlement and the arrogance of that. And those are the changes, like, to where you get a subtle callback, but then you put the John Cena spin on. Oh, it was brilliant. And we've seen John give a lot of great promos in his career when he would do the different diss tracks. I'm telling you,
By
this
far the best.
This might be his best he had his entire. And just where he laughs and the way he laughs and the smugness on his face, like, he's become really good at this.
Yes.
And it really does come off like people would talk. Yeah, and it does come off where people would talk about how he would, come off as such a phony and this and that. And leaning into that in the long-term storytelling of, I was a phony because I was trying to be what you wanted me to be for you and for your kids and for and this and that. But this is who I always was and wanted to be. And how natural it looks now just kind of sells that. Oh my god. It's
I gotta ask, because
chef's kiss.
We know that Punk calls out, Colt Cabana in that original pipe bomb. In this one, John goes, hey, Stu, shoot this. Hey, Claudio Castagnoli. Hey, Nick Nemeth. Hey, Matt Cardona. How you guys doing? He picks one from AEW, one from TNA, and then the self-proclaimed indie god in Matt Cardona.
Right.
What does it say that he picks, one, those three people, but then also, two, that he decides to call anybody out in general?
Well, so I think it is, for one thing, I think they might be some guys I think that had some issues with Punk over time.
Hmm.
And Cardona, I just think I don't know what the deal is. There's a deal with Punk and Cena. I know that Cardona replied today. I did not hear he acknowledged it. I have not had a chance to read his, if you want to explain it to me.
So what I saw, he goes, I don't know what show he's at because it wasn't clear. He sits on the turnbuckle of that show with their microphone. And he goes, and he looks at the camera just like John does, and he goes, "Hi, John Cena."
It's so good. So good. He's great. I really do hope that we get him back at some point. I think we will. But yeah, no, it's just so funny. And when you look at how everything is played out, I'm so excited for this match. And this is what I wanted. I wanted to be invested. I didn't want this to just be the John Cena. I mean, I would have been happy with it, but the John Cena versus CM Punk nostalgic match, I
Correct.
wanted it to feel important. And it is giving me the chills now that it did when it was happening 14 years ago.
And we talked about it last time we were on the air, kind of laying out the John Cena title run. And you have Seth Rollins waiting in the wings. You have CM Punk, right, going up against John Cena on Saturday. And then in 2-3 weeks' time from that, you've got potentially either Jey Uso or Randy Orton. I'm sorry, Cody Rhodes or Randy Orton. John ain't making it to SummerSlam with the title. Right? Like, I don't think he is.
We'll have to have that conversation because I don't know if I agree with you.
And I know we don't have a ton of time, but I'll say it here and I'll say it as loud as, because I'm not on the air till after what's it called? We're doing our show after Saturday night's main event, All In, all that whole weekend. We're gonna do a massive recap show on the 14th of July. Brother, when I tell you John's not leaving Saudi Arabia with the title, I don't know who it's going to be on, but he ain't leaving Saudi Arabia with the title. I'm standing by that.
Interesting. Well, I will tell you, I think he is, but I'm very excited at the fact that we could sit here in 2025 and have this conversation and have this disagreement.
Well, and I think it's because, like, you said yourself, you have the chills, you have that energy, that excitement. This is one of the first times since John won the title at WrestleMania where I'm going, you know what? He may lose.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about a redemption arc of him not going out as a bad guy. We can't see it. We can't fathom him running this all the way to December just because there's that part of us that says he's not going to want to do it. They're not going to want to do it. He's going to want to have some time where he's back on top and everything like that. We could be wrong, right? But there's the way we have laid this out. We've been laying this out since the heel turn in February. You got to pull that trigger soon if you're going to, with as many limited dates as he has left, you got to pull it. If he had a full schedule, I would be saying no. But he's only got, after Saturday, 12.5.
Yeah.
Right?
And well, they added Philly
go by
too.
Quick.
They added Philly in August.
That's going to go by quick.
I got one last question for you.
Sure.
And I know we're tight on time, but I'm going to ask. I think I know the answer to the first part, which is obviously from what you said earlier. You do not believe that Randy Orton is going to win this match against Cody Rhodes, correct? Because you're saying that you don't think there's a chance that they have Cena and Orton again.
Correct.
So,
I also had Uso winning the King of the Ring.
I did as well. So I thought Sammy needed it the most, but that Jey Uso was going to win.
Correct.
Okay.
After Friday, my entire bracket got kiboshed.
Yeah. So I would like to ask though, you don't have to give me an who's winning? Is it Asuka or Jade?
I don't know.
I'm going Asuka here.
I had
Giving
Alexa.
Asuka.
So I had Alexa.
Well,
this
so
whole
Alexa
time.
was my who needs it.
Yeah,
but
I think they're gonna go Asuka.
I think we're getting Asuka and Io at SummerSlam.
But I could also see it Jade, because then you have Jade with the title shot. Naomi cashes in. Jade
maybe.
wins. Right. So like some of that, but I don't know. I honestly don't know.
That's fair. I could see that. I think Randy Orton wins this match. I think that John Cena may cost Cody Rhodes this match because he's trying to avoid that. Because I believe they will take this to Survivor Series if they have, and I could be wrong. Maybe they're setting that up.
Randy to go to the King of the Ring finals twice and lose twice.
Correct.
Would annoy the hell out of me.
Yes, I don't think that happens. But let me ask you this question, and then this will be our final question here. Do you feel at all like they're wasting Cody versus Randy Orton in this setting? Because I feel, I get it, and it's going to be tremendous, but I felt from the day that Cody came back that there has to be a point where Cody and Randy cross paths. But I felt like we needed to be at either a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam.
No, and here's why. I said it last night, right? I said it. This was the best way to put these two in front of each other without having to find a way to turn someone heel. Because Randy being as over as Randy is, you couldn't justify turning Randy heel right now. Cody being Cody, if you're turning him heel, it better be something better than Randy. I'm sorry, no disrespect to Randy, but it better be for something better than you had your opportunity in February to turn him heel. You didn't pull the trigger. Now you got to wait a little bit. So this was the best way to give the people what they want. A match that needs no buildup, that all eyes are going to be glued to. And it's that first tease.
Yeah.
Because I do think we see this match again later, but to do it the first time, a tease with a match that has high stakes.
Right.
If it was just the old school King of the Ring where it didn't matter and you just get to carry around a scepter and a robe, I would have hated it.
Yeah.
But this match now has implications that set up for your SummerSlam main event, that set up for, because some people consider Survivor Series WrestleMania season.
Mm-hmm.
I've always equated the wrestling season to like the football season, right? And you have kind of, preseason and the kickoff in that August, September time frame. So we're getting into it. We're getting into wrestling season.
So I always feel like after Money in the Bank, we start revving up for SummerSlam season.
Yep. And that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's going to be a good time. But Brad, appreciate you joining me. And again, I want to thank our special guest today, Layla L from LayCool, WWE Diva, WWE Women's Pioneer.
Yep.
And if you miss any part of this, make sure you guys go back and check it out.
Just rewind.
Really, really great conversation with her. And we want to thank our doctor, Dr. Paul Vidal at Specialized Physical Therapy. You can find them in Burlington and Cherry Hill, New Jersey. You can find them on the web, specializedphysicaltherapy.com. No appointment necessary. Check them out. Award-winning team over there. They're tremendous. Great show today. And again, for anybody checking this out, we appreciate it. Apologize that it's a little bit of a later start and we had to do a pre-recording today, which is some scheduling conflicts that came up for everybody. But we want to make sure we got you this show. And we got it to you the day that we promised you. Is just a little bit of a different time. But I hope you enjoyed our conversation. And quick announcement, 2 weeks from now, there you go, Phil's. Andy wearing a Philly shirt. It's crazy to me.
You're downtown right now.
Yeah. That's crazy that you're wearing a Philly shirt. I do want to. I know. I do have. There is another interview set up for 2 weeks from now. And again, we're trying to diversify this, right, guys? And you've seen we've had NWA, TNA Impact, ECW, WWE. So our next guest, which I'm very excited about, for all you independent wrestling fans out there, probably outside of GCW, might be the biggest independent wrestling company in the world. Co-owner of Progress Wrestling and Defy in the UK. Lee McAteer, he's going to join us. It is going to be pre-recorded because there's like
A
a
massive
6 or
time
7
difference.
hour time difference. So I do apologize for that, but we'll make
Don't
a post.
apologize. No.
I know. I will, but we will make a post. And anyone who, I know there's a lot of independent fans who want to ask a question or make a comment, drop them in the post when we put it out there on the Lazy Booking Podcast Facebook page, or in the Real Talk group when we share it there. So, or any other group that you might see the post. But for myself, for my boy over here from In This Very Ring, Ritz, Andy Ritter, and for Layla, and for everybody else who is a part of A2D Radio, we appreciate you. We thank you. And Andy, what do you always tell people at the end of your show?
Till next time, tell somebody you love them. Peace, love, and joy. We're out.
See you later.